For decades, the rate of church going has been in decline, which has led people to say that Christianity is going to die out in the West. But now, new data is in which has shown that it is atheism and not Christianity which is in decline, especially amongst 18 to 24-year-olds. And this backs up what youth workers like myself have been saying, that people are coming to faith. It's really exciting. I think you'll find it exciting. So I'm going to share some of this data, and then we'll think about what it means practically for us, how we can apply it, and then we'll look at some really helpful stuff that will help you to make a difference. If you're new here, then welcome. My name's Andrew. I make videos about the Bible and culture, that sort of stuff. So I hope you enjoy this one. This is data from the Bible Society. They conducted this huge survey, and they did one in 2018 and then repeated it in 2024. And some of the stats that they've shown took them by surprise. It really is staggering. The first one I want to look at is this one here, the growing church attendance in England and Wales. This is where it happened. But if you're outside of England and Wales, Northern Ireland like myself, or the Republic, or Scotland, or elsewhere, we're all quite similar culturally. We see here in 2018, just 4% of 18 to 24-year-olds said that they attended church at least monthly. But now, today, 2024, this has risen to 16%. That's 4 times the increase, 400%, with young men increasing from 4% to 21%. Women increasing from 3% to 12%. That is such a huge increase. Numerically speaking, it is a growth you see here from 3.7 million in 2018 to 5.8 million in 2024. An increase of 56%. That is unbelievable. Here we have a graph showing this. The light color 2018, the dark color 2024, and previously where people would have said that the attendance at church was a very steep incline that went from quite high amongst the 65 plus category, and then it went down right through to young people. You see that sort of trend here in the light blue. It goes sharply up, whereas now in the dark blue 2025 we see this big valley where actually this little cohort of 35 to 54-year-olds are weirdly anti-religious, weirdly atheist, and the 18 to 34s are much more religious, especially these 18 to 24-year-olds. Really exciting. The next thing I want to highlight, these two sort of come together, number 3 and 4. This isn't every part of this data. I'm just showing some of the things that were highlighted for me. A vibrant faith. 67% of church-going Christians read the Bible at least weekly outside of church. Not at least monthly, at least weekly. That's actually really good. 67%, 2/3. This sort of shows that, as it says here, new attenders are just as engaged in Christian belief and practice. And for a long time, whenever the numbers of people who identified as Christian were going down, it's sort of one of the ways that we would have explained it was that this is perhaps people who culturally took the label Christian, but they're not actually believers. This seems to be a rise, not in that, but a rise in people who actively have a personal, vibrant, meaningful faith that impacts what they do and that they take meaningful action in. And we see this alongside key finding number 4. 27% of adults say they're Christian but don't regularly go to church, compared to 32% in 2018. So if you're thinking for someone to be a Christian, regular church attendance is very important. If they're not regularly attending church, it's perhaps a sign that they are of that cohort, that they're a cultural Christian. They don't really practice it, but they say they're Christian. So that number seems to be down. What we see here is the data around how many people in the 18 to 34 category regularly read the Bible at least once a week, listening to it, reading it at home, elsewhere, outside of church. 80% of 18 to 34-year-olds. So the average was 67%, but in that 18 to 34 category, 80%. That's really exciting. Oh, if you're enjoying this video, by the way, then don't forget to hit it with a like. I appreciate that. Thanks. Okay, here's another one. The spiritual generation, the 18 to 24-year-olds are being called. And you'll see a lot of this. There's data for all of the age demographics, but I'm particularly interested and focusing on the 18 to 24s. 35% of them say there's definitely a god or gods or some form of higher power. This is really cool. 40% say they pray at least monthly. This is not specifically just Christian prayer, but it's prayer. More than half of them, 51%, have engaged with a spiritual practice. I think meditation was the one that topped that, compared to 42% of those older than them. They're also the group most interested in learning about the Bible. We'll come back to that. That's very exciting. In terms of belief in God, here's how the numbers have changed from 2018 to 2024. Look at this 18 to 24 category. That's a huge jump. 28% said that there is probably or definitely a gods, some higher power. 2018, 28% of 18 to 24-year-olds said there was. Now, 2024, 45%. Unbelievable. Now, there are some challenges. It's not all like sunshine and rainbows, I guess. We see here that young Christians report finding the Bible more challenging than older Christians. 35% of them in these like 18 to 34, so that like slightly wider age category, 35% agree that their faith is undermined when they think about or read about some parts of the Bible. That is sort of the opposite of what you would expect or hope, because the Bible is the way that we encounter Jesus, the way that we learn about him, the way that our faith grows and is shaped. But the Bible can be difficult, and there are things in there that are hard to understand, as I think Peter talks about Paul's writings. Anyway, he says Paul writes some stuff that's hard to understand. So whenever you come across something that is difficult, 35% of 18 to 34-year-olds say that challenges their faith. And given that this is the generation, that's the generation which is the most likely to read the Bible, that's a good thing, but also a bad thing, because they could come across something that challenges them. But then that's where the opportunity is, because obviously the Bible doesn't have any like dirty little secrets that it's like, oh, don't read that part, because then the whole house of cards comes tumbling down. It all does make sense. It is coherent and cohesive and non-contradictory, but it's an ancient document. Over 40 different authors, over 60 books. It is confusing, but there's an opportunity there. Okay, and last one I think that I want to reflect on before we get to the like application bit and like what do we do about this. You see this here. 31% of non-churchgoers say they would attend church if invited by friend or family. That rises to 34% of 18 to 24-year-olds. Now keep in mind, of that 18 to 24 section, what was it? 16% of 18 to 24-year-olds go to church, but a third of them are saying that if I was invited to church by friend or family, I would go. We'll come back to that again. Over half of non-church goers say they'd be happy for a Christian friend to pray for them. Again, that number sort of spikes in the 18 to 24 category. 18% say they would be more interested in learning about the Bible. Again, I think we'll have a look. I think that spikes in the 18 to 24s. And relationships are really, really key. It says over a fifth, 22% of non-church goers in 18 to 34 said they would read the Bible if recommended by a family member or a friend that they trust, compared to 13% who would read it if a trusted celebrity or public thinker recommended it. The likes of Jordan Peterson, his name gets thrown around a lot with this sort of thing. Myself, obviously, as a public thinker and intellectual, as a celebrity, like people who are your friends and family, they are having the biggest impact rather than people online necessarily. So here's the data for like broken down by age for churchgoers who would go if they're invited. Even amongst that, like 35 to 54 demographic, which is strongly atheistic, 29% said they would go. It's still around a third. That's really encouraging. 34% for 18 to 24-year-olds. With regards to the Bible, wanting to learn more about it, reading it, 37% of 18 to 24-year-olds and 32% of 25 to 34-year-olds said they would be interested in learning more about the Bible. So that's really cool, really encouraging. Now, let's have a quick think about what we should do with that data. And the first thing is that I assume that you're 18 to 24, just based on like the demographic of people who watch my videos. You're probably 18 to 24, maybe 18 to 35. And so these 18 to 24-year-olds and 24 to 35s who are very, very open to faith, very open to the idea of there being a God and the Bible speaking to that, having some value, like that is probably, if you're older, we'll come back to you, but probably that is your demographic. Those are your peers. And so whenever it says that I'm 28, of our demographic, around a third would go to church if invited. Around 37% said they'd be interested in learning more about the Bible. That, I think, is on us then to go to these people, because there are more people interested than there are currently practicing faith. So if you've got friends, if you've got family who are in that category, chances are they're probably going to be open to going to church or to learning more about the Bible. And that's where you can come in. You can like lead them into that and invite them. Why not do that? We also then see this where the like older people come in. We also see a massive need for discipleship, because that's that around the people who read the Bible, thought about something in the Bible, and it challenged or undermined their faith. That's not a good stat. That's not something that we want to see. But again, the Bible is difficult. It can be confusing and complicated. And so people who have been around a little bit longer, who've walked through some of this stuff, those people, whether you're 18 to 24 or whether like you're older than that, those people are going to be super, super helpful. Not just for the like the non-churchgoers and non-Christian demographic, but also for the ones who are Christians, the ones who do regularly read the Bible at least weekly. It was what, like 80% or something. You're going to be so helpful in answering the questions that these people have, because you've probably asked and walked through things about like the violence in the Old Testament, the fall of Jericho and Ai, or why Leviticus is in there and what it's all about, or just how the whole Bible fits together and how to like understand things in their context and in the bigger story. You've probably worked through that stuff, and so you're in an unbelievable opportunity and place to be able to help other people with that. Now, Jesus said once that the harvest is. Let me pull it up. Jesus says in Matthew 9, whenever they see the crowds like clamoring to get to him, he says, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." The harvest is abundant. It is super, super plentiful, but the workers really are few. In my denomination, the Church of Ireland, there was a survey done that showed that since 2008, volunteerism is down 44%, which has meant that some churches just can't offer a youth program anymore. 44% is staggering. And I know, like, I'm a full-time youth worker. That's what I do. But even in that position, I cannot, like, closely, intimately disciple 24 people. Do you know, I just can't do that. I don't have the hours. I don't have the mental capacity. It's too much. But that can sort of be delegated out to people who volunteer their time, who give of their time and energy to invest in the next generation. And so 24 people can be discipled if it's spread out between a dozen people. Like, speaking as a church leader, a youth worker, we need you. You have such a valuable and important role to play in like discipling this next generation and in moving along with, working along with what God is doing in this generation. They're so open. The harvest is plentiful. It is like, we've been bowled, I don't know, like Wii Sports or something, you've been bowled and you can just smash it and go out of the park. Like, we've such an amazing opportunity, but we need the people like to do the stuff. Do you know? We need workers in the harvest field, especially because I think statistics show that much of discipleship happens at home with parents, but because these people are generally, like, speaking anecdotally in my experience, the ones who are coming to our like church from who recently come to faith, a lot of them are from unchurched backgrounds, so there's no discipleship happening at home, which means that the youth ministry is so much more important. So I just want to encourage you that we need you. And then you may or may not feel equipped or ready or able to do this stuff. I want to like point some resources out to you. Obviously, there's my channel, All Things Theology. I've got Instagram and TikTok as well. I post some different stuff there about the Bible. It's a bit more practical. But aside from my stuff and my back catalogue of videos, we've got this here. This is the Bible Society who conducted this research. Bible Society in Northern Ireland have a podcast here, like a season of podcasts, Confidence in the Bible. There's 6 episodes of it. It's really good. A friend of mine is the host of it, and I would recommend that you check it out because it's really, really good. Another resource is obviously the Bible Project. You probably know about the Bible Project, so I'm not going to like go into depth. It's amazing, but the stuff is out there. There's never been an easier time in all of human history to learn about the Bible. We have so much access to amazing free resources. So let's learn it and let's live it, and then let's go out and share it with these 18 to 24-year-olds and everyone else, but 18 to 24-year-olds who are just so hungry to hear it. If you're interested in Bible stuff, then check one of these videos out, you might find them helpful. But look, thanks for being here, and I will see you soon. God bless.